One of the things that Cody said in the press conference last Tuesday when it pertains to AEW is that he said wins and losses will matter. So you're right. I mean, one thing that we've gotten away from in pro wrestling is wins and losses and them mattering. And Cody says that that's something that's going to be heavy in the future of AEW, which I'm excited about as a fan.
I think it should be. And I always, with my House of Hardcore shows, I actually would have my announcers say what a guy's record is when you're going towards a title. But it'll be interesting to see, because I was just saying, that era of wrestlers will always behind the scenes. We like to call it politic for stuff, and it's not so much done anymore. It's done, but not to the extent of how it was, like, because back then it was, you want me to do a job? See you later. I'm going to Mid-South. See you later. I'll go to Florida. Yep. See you later. I'll go to Georgia. So a lot of politicking could happen with that. Hope it doesn't.
Well, and another thing when I think of AEW and what's going on in pro wrestling right now, to harken back to that Night of Champions 2 that we were both at when Stan Hansen won the AWA championship from Rick Martel when he submitted.
Because Stan Hansen's head was in the turnbuckle blocking it.
That's right.
I hated that finish. I remember back then hating that finish. Here's why. I was like, why can't Rick Martel just go to the left and grab the ropes, or go to the right and grab the ropes? And they were on television, they were putting it over as he was blocking it with his head.
Yes.
Really wasn't cheating. But anyway, I digress.
But then we saw that the AWA and the NWA combined together to fight off the WWF national expansion at that time. So they combined to put on cards like the one that we saw at the Meadowlands. Similar to what we see now with New Japan and Ring of Honor. So when you look at AEW, do you think they'll have any relationships with other organizations like we saw back then?
I think they have an amazing roster. I think their next show it's going to be as good as the first. Mm-hmm. Where they're going from here will be, it's better. I like what they're doing now. If it was me and I had Khan, got to wake up every time I say his name. If I had, I would say I want to do 2 to 3, like all-in events for the year. And then towards the end of the year, be like, hey, by the way, we now have television, and take it from there, because it's going to be hard. It really is to start. Trust me, I've been trying to find my gun for a long time, and starting to do television and all that stuff from the ground floor, it's hard. Exactly. I say it every time.
But we do have a billionaire, so to speak, quote unquote billionaire, backing a pro wrestling company. This is when you think of billionaire, you think McMahon, you think back WCW with, what we saw then. But now we have it here with the Khan family. I mean, that is going to help. I mean, it's not only going to help financially, which you need that for that foundation for a company that's about to grow, but also for recognition. I mean, he's somebody that's known in the sports world as well. There's a lot of positives when you look at AEW.
100%. Like I said, the business is wide open right now. The business is wide open for talent to shine. If you think about, to me, the biggest what hurt Ring of Honor, all their stars leaving, but then what did that do? It opened up the door for other wrestlers to go there. And, with All Elite Wrestling, they have this amazing roster. They're also going to need other people to help fill out the card, fill out a roster. And, they announced 1 woman, 2 women?
Just as far as I know, just the one.
Well, Brandy's going to be wrestling.
Oh, Brandy
probably.
Too, yeah.
So, if you are an independent wrestler, or if you're someone who's not signed with somebody, you need to. But I mean, even the beauty of All In was all wrestling promotions working together, because they had, the Lucha Brothers, who were signed under, they're under a deal with probably AAA and not Impact. Well, actually, they are under a deal with Impact now.
MLW?
No, Lucha Underground.
Lucha Underground. I'm sorry, Lucha Underground.
So, like Willie Mack. Willie Mack works for me. He's my champion. Not that I'm running as many shows, but he's under contract with Lucha Underground.
Impact, too.
Yep. He's now working with Impact. Rich Swann, he's kind of doing the same. So you need to, because if you sever those relationships, then where are you going to get all this talent? Because the talent pool, you have to kind of share it, and you got to hope that you don't have the egos, because that's what killed the beauty of those super cards that we had.
Yeah, because it was, because backstage, while they were combining with AWA and NWA, Jim Crockett was talking to AWA personnel and vice versa, and Verne Gagne was talking to NWA personnel trying to recruit them over. A big reason why we saw the Road Warriors leave the AWA and go to Crockett Promotions was because of those shows where they combined and they were able to negotiate things behind the scenes. I think you're right. I think, Tommy, one thing that we really have to kind of talk about and repeat, if we're going to continue this health, is that these organizations can't get jealous, egos can't get involved, and they're going to have at least some sort of working relationship.
Absolutely, because if not, then most talent will then go to WWE or egos. And I'm not talking about wrestlers. I'll be talking about wrestling corporations, wrestling companies. They won't want, and I could see it, they wouldn't want their champion. Like, let's say John Morrison went to defend his title at All Elite Wrestling, and, we want John Morrison to lose. Well, he's my champion.
Yeah.
That becomes ego, but it could help. It could help. It could hurt. Like you said, Ring of Honor, New Japan, they have a great relationship. It helped, I feel, sell out Madison Square Garden because they're both hot companies, and it'll continue. But you think of, Nick and Matt, and they have great relationship with Ring of Honor. You never know what could happen.
Really quick, let's get back to AEW, because there are a couple of things that AEW could be offering that's unlike anything we've seen in the history of pro wrestling. And one is, we've heard Brandy say it, equal pay for both men and women, depending where you are on the card, obviously, but equal pay for men and women. And also the Khan family hinting at possible health care for the wrestlers as well. Those are things that we have never heard in the history of pro wrestling.
Correct. And I saw a lot of people on social media. At first it was, this is the greatest thing ever. A lot of people said the excitement there was awesome. And then, of course, once it gets digested for a little bit, people then like, well, they said this, Cody said this, said that. You need, when you have a company starting out, you're going to have growing pains. And this is their first announcement. It was great. Jericho signing was a shocker to everybody. I think the next one will be Kenny Omega. But when you see a company, the All In was the perfect show. I always say, and I will say, I was there live. I loved there was nothing wrong with that show. To recreate perfection is going to be super duper hard.
Yeah.
But even as a company grows, there's going to be some issues. And if they're working towards healthcare, awesome. That's a game changer. And trust me, I have been on both sides. I've been on both sides as a talent and as management in WWE. I've been on both sides as talent and owner/manager in my own company. It is a hard task. Plus, as great as everything is, then you see other sides of, professional wrestling and professional wrestlers, which is going to be hard to deal with because a lot of these people will be your friends. And, you look at back in the day, wrestlers used to be able to get their bodies insured with Lloyd's of London. And then guess what? Oh, those crazy 80s wrestlers, they started scamming the Lloyd's of London. And then after that policy went away, oh, guess what? I can wrestle again. I'm cured. So, you can't, let's just take it. It's great for wrestling. I couldn't be happier for Nick, Matt, Brandy, Cody. I personally love them, and it's going to be an awesome, awesome time as wrestling fans. And social media sometimes is full of negative and hate. Don't hate, just keep on supporting and loving like we do. That's why we listen to this show.
I agree. And then everyone's going to right away compare it to the WWE or talk about competition for the WWE. You know, let's take it one step at a time, baby steps when it comes. I mean, they haven't even had their first show yet.
Correct.
So let's just appreciate that there's another as a wrestling fan, I just appreciate that there's another option for us to watch.
Absolutely. And you know, if you're asking me my opinion, should there be equal pay for men and women? Sure. Should there be equal pay of men and women on the card? No. Do you pay your starting quarterback the same money as you pay your reserve quarterback? Are you going to pay your first match person the same as you're going to pay your last match, your main eventer? That's business.
And that's something,
and it's how much you're drawing for the company. And
not to cut you off, but that's something that Ryback has mentioned in the past. He has his podcast and he was talking about that. We shouldn't look at it as a professional sport like the NFL or the NBA where, equal pay for somebody who's in the starting rotation as to somebody who's sitting on the bench. It is pro wrestling. It is predetermined. And he has hinted at the fact that, everyone should get equal pay no matter where they are in the card. But I agree with you. I think when it comes to pro wrestling, it's about star power. So I think it does rely on where you are on the card.
And if you also just let's say you're going to give opening card guys $100. I'm just using this as a figure. Mm-hmm. Mid card guys $200. Top guys $300. What is their incentive to do more? And you know what that became? That became WCW.
Yep. Because
they were all under guaranteed contracts. In WWE, if you're getting pushed to the moon, you're making more money. But wrestling is such a slippery slope, and it's uncomparable to any business out there. And I'm sure Mr. Khan will understand that as he goes forward, because it's thank you. It's just, you can't compare it, because let's say Manny Machado, Bryce Harper, they're two free agents that everyone is saying that is going to make this big bucks. Number one, no one's offering them their money that they should have. But then it's okay, well, how many World Series has these guys won? If you're going to go the football analogy, you have your team, you have your Jacksonville Jaguars. How many Super Bowls have you won with this quarterback? Are you going to give him more money, or am I going to try to get somebody from there? So, I mean, that's you have to take it like that. But then you have to look at it, if you're looking at a sports attitude, oh, by the way, I can win the Super Bowl all the time because I'm going to book it that way. So, that's really how it goes.
Well, I have a question. Actually,
and they have Super Bowl winning performers already. Jericho, Super Bowl.
Yes.
Nick and Matt, Super Bowl. Cody Rhodes, Super Bowl players.
That's a great point.
Yep.
I mean, first of all, the signing of Chris Jericho is huge because right away it brings credibility to your organization. Because the mainstream fan, who is the quote-unquote WWE fan and only knows of WrestleMania and who's on that roster, they see a Chris Jericho. They know Chris Jericho. Right away, that brings credibility to your organization.
1,000%.
One of the questions that a lot of the nation was asking on social media, so I have to ask you now, because I know you do have a close relationship with Cody. We saw you at All In Cody's corner when he was going up for that NWA championship. Were you offered a position with AEW?
I have spoken with Matt and Cody about doing stuff for there. And I said, whenever you guys need me, I'm happy to help. Nick and Matt helped House of Hardcore in the early stages. I always saw them as main eventers. Mm-hmm. If there's any two individuals that if I have daughters, if I had sons, I'd want them to be like them. They're two great human beings.
Wow.
They really are. Cody, I've known since he was a little kid. His father was my hero. His father was my friend. I will do anything for those guys because I love them. And they want me there, I'm there. If there's not a spot for me, trust me, I get it. My own last show at House of Hardcore, you know who didn't wrestle? Me. There was no spot for me there. And I hope there is. I'd love to be a part of something successful. I have spoken to him, and that's it.